what is the main cause that most people break up in a relationship? Is it they lack a shared vision and values? Is it they don't know how to communicate with each other effectively, or they just hurt each other too much emotionally? What's kind of the main cause of a breakup that you see?
Well, all those things you listed, I've observed them in many relationships. It could be one of those are the primary reason for somebody. But if I take a bird's eye view of everything, trying to figure out what is that thing that's common in the breakup, it kind of boils down to they're not on the same page. And that could be for a variety of reasons, including the ones that you just listed or something else that we haven't discussed yet. In a successful relationship, what I recognize in myself, I'm putting myself in the position of being in a successful relationship, I recognize my own willingness to work on things with my partner, and I trust that my partner has their own willingness to work on things. Now, if either of those things are ruptured, as in I notice that I no longer want to work on stuff, or I'm not trusting that they want to work on stuff, I don't trust them to continue wanting to be with me, this is a significant break, I think, in the relationship. It's hard to come back from if both people are not on board to work on stuff. And working on stuff looks different for every relationship. Working on stuff is going to, play out very differently depending on what the issues are, what the challenges have been, what kind of traumas each of these people are bringing into the relationship, what their families of origin look like. And if you hear therapists talking about family of origin, talking about the people that raised you, the environment that you grew up in as a child, where you came up, this is going to be very different and unique to you as an individual than your partner. Even if you find somebody that you feel like we're vibing so much, we have so much in common, we have shared values, we have a shared dream about what we want to do with our lives, whatever happened in the first 18 to 26 years of your life is going to be very different than your partner's.
Right.
And now when you come together, you're trying to find a way to combine this stuff, and it can be really, really hard if you're unable to identify core pieces of the dynamics that shaped who you are.
And if someone has vastly different family of origin stories, even if you feel like, we grew up in the same town and we have similar cultures, you might have a different religious background, or there might be different experiences that could be very different, but it could seem similar. But if someone has an extreme family of origin difference than their partner, but they're vibing, they're connecting, they're having a fun time together, there's chemistry, there's all these different things, what do they need to look out for in order to have the right conversations? Or is it a matter of just saying, okay, I accept you for this is your beliefs and your values, and I'm going to be okay with it and not try to change you? How do people navigate that in relationships?
When we figure it out, please let me know. Kidding, but if you're entering a relationship, and chances are it's because of a lot of the stuff that you talked about. At first, it's usually pretty good, and a lot of people have heard that phrase honeymoon phase.
Yes.
Endorphins are running high, oxytocin is rushing throughout your body. It's the stuff that makes you feel good. Dopamine, you feel satisfied, you feel like you've achieved something. Couples that get together and initially just stay together because of the feel-goods, they are, I think, neglecting something very important. Is how do we navigate when we feel bads? What do we each do when we're faced with challenges, when we get angry or upset or hurt by something? And this is like a key difference that I think people could benefit from exploring a little bit more when they first get together with someone. And I know it's difficult to do this very explicitly, just like over coffee, but it's like, how do you respond to anger? How do you respond to a disagreement? Some big differences I see in families of origin. Some families, when somebody's mad or when some kind of issue comes up, everybody withdraws, everybody shuts down, and they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And then they reconvene at some point, and some families just brush things under the rug and they carry on as though nothing happened, and they do small gestures to let each other know that I'm okay now, are you okay? But they don't actually talk about it, and they move forward.
Was that your upbringing or your experience?
A little bit. And then some other families, when there's disagreements or challenges, they shout it out, they fight it out, they talk about it in the moment.
Right.
And it could be because the leaders of the family, the parents, or it could be some other significant people, they've decided we're going to confront this right on, and we're going to challenge each other and get it sorted, and we're not going to go to bed angry. all these different ways that families exist. I don't want to say one is right, one is wrong, one's better or whatever, but they are very different. So if you come from a family that brushes things under the rug and then next week you just act like nothing happened and that's how you move on, but your partner comes from a family that they want to talk about the problem right now, that's going to be pretty challenging to navigate if you don't figure out first, how can we meet each other somewhere in the middle so we can, leave space for the different ways that both of us have learned to figure out conflict.
Yeah, it sounds like emotional agility is one of the skills or tools that so many of us could learn to master more of that will benefit us in every area of life, but obviously in our intimate relationships. I remember in all of my previous relationships, I'm currently engaged, but in all of my previous relationships, I never really had those hard conversations early on. It was a lot of what you talked about. This feels good. We're having fun. Let's keep feeling good. And whenever there was moments of, this doesn't feel good, this feels kind of off, and I didn't know how to communicate, and they didn't know how to communicate, it just seemed to continue to get worse and worse over time because we didn't have the tools. I didn't have the emotional agility. They didn't. We didn't have the language. We didn't know how to communicate effectively and create a safe space. And we both had our own traumas and all these different things that we brought to the table. In my current relationship to my fiance, when I entered the relationship with her, I made a request. I said I would really love to. I said I've been doing therapy and healing over the last couple of years from all my past, and I would really love to enter a relationship differently and do it in therapy. Are you open to this? And she was all in. And it was probably the best decision I've made in any relationship is to enter the relationship in couples therapy together. I was doing individually, she was doing individually for her own life, but our therapist was kind of blown away that we were doing this because she was like, I'd never seen this in 30 years. It's usually when there's challenges where people do this. And it has alleviated so many potential challenges that I see could have come up. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm not saying it's all perfect, but it's been incredibly peaceful because we've entered therapy together. What are the main benefits that couples get out of entering therapy when there's nothing wrong? And also when there are challenges, what are the benefits of doing it when things are great and you feel good versus we're really struggling and we got to get some help?
Ooh, juicy question. While you're talking, I had a very similar reaction to what you shared about the therapist. Wow, this is music to my ears to hear that people are entering